By the light of the sun, by the depth of the moon, by the flame of the wand, and by the pentacle of earth, I call upon the guides of wisdom, the ancestors of the craft, and the holy guardian angel. Guide us now through the stations of the dove and serpent. Reveal what is hidden, so we may transform it into light. Hello, Libra. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. Together we walk the path of the dove and serpent spread, an 11-fold journey of transformation. Each position reveals a unique aspect of your journey, alternating between the essence of your being and the events that help to shape your destiny. Remember to hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Libra, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. Queen of Wands, all right. The Queen of Wands is a very powerful card, very ambitious, very alive, very vibrant. It's our first card of the day. It's called Station, and it is the way we see ourselves, you know. This is kind of how we experience ourselves on the inside. And I think that you're somebody who is confident. I feel that because it's a Queen of Wands, this is kind of talking about how we end things. I think you're somebody that tends to end things rather abruptly. When you're done with something, when something is over, when something has run its course, when the movie's over, we say, okay, what's coming next? You know, the queens are always looking at the past and always understanding how we process the ending of something. When life is transitioning from the old to the new, from what was to what will be, how do we handle that, right? The Queen of Cups, for instance, might be doing it very slowly, feeling all the feelings, really going through this long, drawn-out emotional separation, whereas the Queen of Wands is kind of pulls the Band-Aid right off, just kind of cut, done, what's next? On to the next thing quickly. Doesn't like to linger in those feelings. So, as we are exploring the positions of the spread today, let's ask ourselves, do we end things too quickly? Do we avoid the feelings that come with some things leaving our life and new things entering our lives? Do we tend to make that transition rather abruptly? Is there something now in particular that you're thinking about and you're wondering, did I move on from that too fast? Are there lingering issues there that I should have explored? Should I process more of my feelings? You know, because this is the card that just likes to be involved and doesn't like to stop and feel things. This is the card that likes to keep going. That's where the excitement is. And so it may be by keeping ourselves so busy, we're avoiding some of the feelings here. Well, let's put this card into a little bit of context. Okay, we're getting right into it today. We're going to use this dove and serpent spread. Here we have the intuition, okay. High Priestess. We have the Four of Pentacles. We have a Three of Wands. We have a Princess of Swords. And we have that Knight of Wands. The Knight, just as the Queen is asking, how do I process things ending? The Knight is saying, how do I process things beginning? So we have the ending and the beginning here, and you're on fire. You are on fire. And I think that, you know, it will serve us well to reflect as the High Priestess does, being a full moon energy, a very strong lunar energy. It kind of has that idea of emotional reflection, okay? We have a Prince of Swords, Three of Pentacles, Three of Wands, Three of Pentacles, right? Fire and earth. We have a Nine of Cups, and we have the Eon. The Eon is another fiery card. It's a fiery doorway card, and so I feel like Spirit is telling you about this transition from past to future, going through a doorway, which means we're shutting the door on the past, and we're moving into a brand new future. We're leveling up our lives. But it's not going to hurt us to reflect on the experience a little bit, okay? This is a very positive movement forward. You're going through that doorway. You're leveling up your life, but you don't want to miss out on the feelings. Okay, that's why we got water over here in the obstacle position. To get to the other side of that doorway, we've got to feel the feelings here. So we're sort of reconnecting with that emotional energy, especially as it talks about the past situation that we're moving away from, and then the readiness to embrace what's coming next in our lives. Let's select the mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set it down right over here with everyone's favorite Tiny Bob Ross right on top. We're not going to look at that happy little card until the very end. It will tie everything together. It will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading. If at any moment during this message you feel like you might know what that card could be, put your prediction in the comments down below, okay? Now, as we look around the room, two major arcana energies. The High Priestess, right? The intuition, the spiritual light from your soul, from the cosmos. This represents starlight. What is the moon but starlight, right? This represents that psychic, subtle, spiritual starlight guiding you through the doorway to your future, to your best life. Okay, this is really, truly amazing stuff. But in order to get there, we, I think, need to go through the various feelings and the emotional energies here that are included in how something has ended for you. Okay, so your intuition is taking you through the doorway to your future and saying that we have to process the emotions so that we can shut the door on the past and embrace the future. Okay, the Eon card is really that divine doorway. Let's do a divine doorway oracle card before we go much further. Here we have a distant kiss in a prayer flag. I wish of all wishes that you were here. Okay, through the sunlight and rain, I need you near. And I wonder if that is, connecting with that emotional energy. Because it feels like an emotional thing, right? A distant kiss and a prayer flag, I wish of all wishes that you were here. Right, through sunlight and rain, I need you near. It feels like that's a very strong emotional tie. So it may be that there is some kind of a connection. I don't know if maybe it's with another person, or processing that emotional energy as it relates to this thing ending. Okay. So let's talk about the High Priestess. Well, let's first of all talk about all this fire energy we have. Okay, so we have the major arcana. Okay, we have those two. Then we've got this whole horizontal path of fire. This is like something began in a very energetic way. It was really inspired, it's ending, and now the next thing's beginning. It feels like there's not a lot of pause. It feels like there's not a lot of time for reflection here. It's just go, 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 go through that door. It's almost like this is the High Priestess's spirit kind of saying, whoa, wait a minute, right? It kind of looks like she's in that attitude of like, hold on a second. Don't be so fast. Don't be so quick to rush through this. Allow yourself to feel how you feel, right? So we have the fire, we have a little bit of water, we've got some air, we've got some earth. Okay. Position 2 in the spread is called the battlefield. This is the obstacle for you. This is the hard part. The quest before you is to pause and to allow those feelings, to reflect on how you feel right now. Because the Queen of Wands doesn't like the feelings. You know what is the worst card for the Queen of Wands? The worst card is the Ten of Cups. Because the Queen doesn't want to stop and feel those feelings, because it puts out the fire, because it takes away the momentum, because I don't like the way it feels, right? I just want to keep going. If I stay moving, nothing will stick to me. Rolling stone gathers no moss, right? But it leaves a trail of busted stuff, right? Shout out to Dave Matthews Band. I heard Carter was a fan of the show. I don't know if that's true or not. But the Queen just wants to keep going, right? It feels more comfortable when things are in motion. Feels more comfortable when we're just kind of flying through. We're soaring down the road. Doesn't like to really stop and say, oh, how do I feel about that? Okay? But if we don't do that right now, that's what Spirit's coming through to say, that if we don't deal with how we feel about this thing ending, we're not going to be ready for the future. We're still going to be kind of tied up here, right? We're still going to be somehow connected. There's going to be these wires connecting us to the past, and we're going to be unable to actually fully go through that doorway and get to that future, okay? So I wish of all wishes that you were here. I need you near. It kind of feels like we're missing somebody. Okay, and maybe we're kind of like we don't want to acknowledge that. We don't want to feel that. And so we feel like if I just stay busy, I won't have to feel it, and that'll be easier, right? But the High Priestess is saying, look, the only way to really truly get to the future that you deserve, that you desire, the life that you want, to build the universe, to build your personal reality, is to acknowledge how we feel and to process those emotions. The Queen of Wands doesn't like to do that. Likes to say, oh, movie's over? All right, fine. What's for lunch? That's what all the queens are doing. Right? I look at the queens of the tarot as they're a group of four ladies leaving a movie theater. And they're all dealing with that, the movie ending. They're all dealing with it in a different way. The Queen of Cups is very emotional over the movie. I need to spend a few days. I need to go home and I need to sit and feel the feelings from that movie. That movie really moved me. It changed me. I feel very emotional about the movie. And I need to take a few days to let it go. You ever go see a really wonderful musical act at the amphitheater, like Dave Matthews Band or something? I saw them, I've seen them a couple of times at Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View, California. Such a wonderful show. I love that band so much. And you leave, and also I had this experience with Tool. I saw them at Shoreline too, a long time ago. But, you leave a really good show and you kind of feel the feelings. Like it was a moving experience. It did something to me emotionally, and it takes you a couple days to kind of get back to your old self again and say, okay, what's the next show we're going to go see, right? And so it's like that with the Queen of Cups, but the Queen of Wands is just saying, okay, that show's over. What concert are we going to go to next? What movie do you want to see next? What's for lunch? What are we doing? It doesn't process. Maybe it doesn't feel like it needs to, doesn't want to. Maybe it's sort of all this fire is concealing the fact that we really are very emotional about the ending here, about that movie we saw and the fact that it's over now, or that, seeing that great band and now that show's over and I gotta go do next things in life, whatever, is coming in the future. So I think right now Spirit is saying that's the big quest for you, the big challenge that is really requiring your courage, is to let the Queen of Wands slow down. It's okay to be in a hurry. It's okay to just want to put it behind us and rush forward. Yeah, you got a lot of amazing things coming in your future, But this message is meant for you. You were meant to see this reading today, and this message says, slow down a little bit, allow yourself to process your feelings. Allow yourself to acknowledge how you feel about this before we go rushing off to the next concert or see the next movie or whatever it is, And so that's the challenge, but also to trust in that, because maybe when we start to slow down and we start to feel our feelings, it's kind of scary. It makes us want to get up and run. We've got to trust. That's what the High Priestess is trying to do, is convince us to trust in this process. Okay? To trust that going through this emotional experience as we move on from something is going to be better for us in the future, because we'll be fully ready to commit to whatever's next, fully enjoy whatever's coming next, without wishing that you were here, I need you near. The emotional experience, we're missing somebody, right? And so as we try to go through the future, go through the doorway into the future, that emotional energy is going to be holding us back, you see. The Four of Pentacles underneath the surface here is stability, right? This is the third position of the soul. And this is safety, security, stability, integrity. It's routine, it's habit, it is something that's kind of like we've learned, and it repeats, right? As being underneath the surface, I think that we have a habit of doing this, okay? This is something that your soul is really trying to tell you, and that is perhaps by bottling up these emotions, we don't know how they're going to affect us as we try to move forward through life. But also that we have a habit maybe of skipping over the emotional catharsis kind of the endings of things, and that we tend to play it kind of safe in that regard by, again, it's kind of like the rolling stone, yeah. And so we, maybe by keeping moving, we're avoiding the discomfort. Okay, anytime we get a 4, we start looking for the 5, because it means things have become too stable, too stagnant, too similar. And really, it may be now that if we truly look at this card, we may be feeling like we're not really connecting with our experiences. That the Queen is going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, but we're not really experiencing the full impact of any of these things that we're doing. It's kind of like we've become detached from the actual experience. This is a card of isolation. If we're emotionally isolated, then the Queen is ending something and moving on to the next thing, but it's not really present emotionally. What's the point of doing all these things? It's like we just keep moving through life, but it's because we're sort of avoiding something. And this card is then saying we need to reconnect with that. If we want to fully experience our life, we have to be willing to let that water energy in. Otherwise, let's say, the pentacles can be an empty structure. That this becomes now just a habit, a routine of life. And something ends, I begin something else, and it goes on and on and on and on. But there's no living water here, right? This is an empty cup. We need to fill it with something. We need to fill it with that emotional experience, even if it's painful, even if it's, with happiness too, as well as sorrow. We have to maybe admit that, yeah, I'm going to miss this place. I'm going to miss this thing, or this was my experience, or we're reflecting. Oh, this is the point of seeing movie after movie after movie. If we're never really connecting with it. Okay, and maybe if we really look, we'll realize that, yeah, you know what, I've been seeing a lot of movies lately, but I don't really feel like I connected with any of them. Or I've had a lot of experiences or a lot of outings. I went and listened to a lot of music, seen a lot of shows, talked to a lot of people, met a lot of people. I never really felt connected with a lot of those. Maybe it's because and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, let's not assume that the Queen of Wands is fully disconnected. The Queen of Wands is immersed in what they're doing while they're doing it, but as soon as it's over, and they don't have another thought about it. It's like their feelings are just gone immediately, as soon as, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. Does that make sense? And so it's not that we're disconnected from something in the present while we're doing it, but that we move on from something so quickly that we don't really experience the rest of those feelings. We just sort of cut them off halfway through. Okay, I hope that's making some sense. And I feel like that's kind of isolating us. It's keeping us from a whole other portion of life that we could be experiencing. Now, the 3 of Wands is in the background. This is the dwarf position. Okay, this is represents the recent past, but it kind of shows that there's something that we're still attached to in the past, something that's kind of influencing our future here. And it's a Sun in Aries type of energy. And in fact, you have an Aries card here, which is like very eager to begin the new thing. It could be that what happens with us is that we end up ending something sooner than we need to, because we don't want to go through the emotions of, the painful ending. So do we notice that we, on the one hand, we could be beginning something new before the old thing has ended, okay? Because then it's easy to just focus on the new thing and just out of sight, out of mind, the old thing, okay? It could be that you have a tendency to abruptly end things and then very quickly find something new to do because you don't want to experience that emotion or that uncomfortable feeling that's kind of attached to the endings of things, okay? It doesn't matter really what our method is, but it's kind of around that idea of not connecting with the ending and not feeling those separation feelings, okay? And it kind of feels to me as if we tend to begin things before the old thing is over, so that we can just abruptly end the last thing and just completely cut it off because we already have something new that's occupying our attention. So there's no space in between where those sneaky feelings can come in and disrupt us. Okay, so the Three of Wands here, I think, is that acknowledgement that this was something important to you. Okay, and whether it ended, from kind of natural progression of things, it's over, or if something has happened and it's ended, or we've made the choice to end it, or somebody else made the choice to end it, it's something that you valued. Okay, and it's something that really would be uncomfortable, but would also serve you very well to acknowledge. Again, the lunar energy of the High Priestess, this is a full moon energy, okay? At least a very waxing moon energy. So it's kind of like we're trying to let in more of that starlight. It's a widening of the psychic aperture. It's an opening of the third eye, and it's really this, in this case, it's kind of an emotional reflection. Yeah, to acknowledge that, hey, I cared about this. There's a part of me that's still here in this thing, this circumstance, whether it's a relationship, a job, something at home, at work, at school, it doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that we identified with it and we felt like we were fully immersed in it and it was part of us. And, well, yeah, it makes sense that you're a little upset that it ended, or that you should be. But with the Four of Pentacles, it kind of feels like we're closed off. We're shutting the doors. We're battening down the hatches so those emotions don't come in. Okay. And if maybe this was a job that ended, or this was like a friendship that then we sort of grow older and we start going our separate ways, and we're trying to just occupy ourselves with something new because we don't want to feel that pain of division or that separation. But it was a situation or a job or a relationship that meant a lot to you. Why wouldn't we feel that, And that's kind of with the prayer flag on our Eon card, kind of saying, I wish you were here and I need you near. And it's sort of admitting that we miss that person, that we wish that they were around. Maybe this is a loved one that has passed into spirit, okay? And I think right now the acknowledging how we feel, reflecting on that, is going to serve you well, because it's going to allow you then to move forward into a really, truly amazing future, right? With a lot of excitement, a lot of passion, a lot of zest, a lot of confidence here. The fifth card, interestingly, is the Princess of Swords. And it's in position 5. It's the giant position. It sort of is talking about your curiosity, your exploration of things, but this is a very intellectual card, okay? And I think that it really is, we try to be logical and we try to be intellectual rather than emotional. And I think, Libra, that's kind of a stereotype for you, okay? And I don't mean to just perpetuate the stereotypes, but I think Libras are very emotional people, very sensitive, very strong connections with other people. But we tend to play it off as kind of as being more intellectual. I'm not bothered, Shout out to Catherine Tate. I wonder what that lady's doing these days, Catherine Tate. Anyway, the I'm not bothered sort of energy, okay? And I feel like you have a very active mind. I feel like you have a lot of things that you like to do. You're a people person. You have a lot of interests. You have a lot of options always available to you, right? And so when things perhaps start to get a little bit too real or a little bit too deep, there can be that abrupt ending and the very almost impulsive beginning of something new. Okay? But you have a curiosity about you. I think this is a very natural learning. This is kind of a student energy, very curious, likes to learn about a lot of things, likes to meet a lot of new people, And that's part of our fire energy too. When we have this very active pathway of fire here, it's kind of like saying, I'm quickly done with the past because I'm so excited about this new thing I get to do in the future. It's like when the old movie, where I don't know, you're probably the type of person that will leave a movie theater, that will change the channel when there's like 5 or 10 or 20 minutes left of the movie. You'll say, okay, I'm done next. Because we don't care about the ending so much. Or we do care, but maybe that's just it. We care a lot, and we don't want to experience that kind of emotion, so we just change the channel quickly before the movie has to end. And I think, looking at it sort of from a distance, it seems like, yeah, I'm just very excited for what's coming next, so I'll just, I'm very eager to start the new things, okay? You have that kind of curiosity about you, yeah. And maybe this is even taking place in our education, or in our studies, our personal studies, or our personal development, that we tend to be drawn toward new and exciting things before we have finished the old thing necessarily, before we have really had the closure. Okay, because this is a card, again, it's always kind of looking at, like, what am I doing right now? What is the most exciting thing right now? Not what have I been doing and what do I need to look at in the past and how do I need to process the closure and all that stuff. No, this is a card that's kind of active in the present moment. Okay, but the princesses are a bit impulsive, right? Because this is like, I have a thought and I act on it. That I have an idea and I act on it. And we don't always want to do that, right? We don't always want to act out every thought we have, yeah. But I think that we tend to keep ourselves busy mentally and physically to avoid those, the feelings, the processing the feelings of the ending. And so sometimes the princess reminds us that when we have this big light bulb moment, I know what I want to do, and then we go and do it, usually, right? Thought to action. We have that impulsive kind of light bulb moment, and then we immediately act on it. This is a card that suggests we buffer that. And we say, now, wait a minute, let me reflect on things. I have this great idea, aha, okay. Well, let me just, how do I feel about things? Let me get in touch with the emotions really quick. And say goodbye to this old thing. And then I can act on this if I still want to do it. Again, it's just like a princess of cups. Princess of Cups has a feeling, I have a desire, and I'm moving in that direction. Or I have a feeling I'm immediately moving away from that direction. It's feeling to behavior. This is thought to behavior. And it's very impulsive with the princesses. It requires a little bit of buffering. Okay, so again, we kind of have another suggestion of this. Let's pause, let's reflect, let's buffer our behavior, right? The next action that we're going to take, let's just pause. Let's just take a little bit of a time out right here before we immediately go into this Knight of Wands in the future position. The next step for you is to get on the horse and go charging into the next event of your life, right? So, Spirit's not saying that you shouldn't do this, or that we need to linger here forever, but simply that we need to reflect and process on the emotions for something that's ended in your life before we jump on the horse and we say, giddy up. This is a very impulsive card too. This is a Knight of Wands, fire on fire, leaping into action, leaping into something else, rushing forward into the next adventure. With no hesitation, the horse and the rider are one unit. We have to be fully committed. We have to be fully on board. We've got to trust in this impulse. We've got to trust in this instinct. The horse and the rider have to trust each other, right? The horse doesn't trust the rider. Rider doesn't trust the horse. You're going to fall off, pretty sure. So in order to be this united, I think it's important that first we pause, process the feelings. Okay, process the feelings. I've got some kind of a closure, some kind of a sense of an ending. Now I'm ready to unite horse and the rider together and go full force into the next thing. Full force into the future where this isn't going to be there. We're not going to hit these emotions because it's, the Knight of Wands has to be fully committed. If you're not fully committed, let's think of a horse that's like, we're galloping through the forest and we got to jump over a log or like a tree, right? Got to jump over a tree and we're just going, we're going. If we say, a tree, oh no, I don't, the horse is gonna freeze, the horse is gonna stop, we're gonna go flying, it's gonna be really bad. What we gotta do is be fully committed. Let's go, horse, let's go. It's me and you, ready, jump, and we do it. Okay? And so what that is sort of, to me, what it's illustrating is that emotional pull, that something in us is gonna have that little bit of doubt, or that little bit of having kind of one foot still stuck in the past. Because there's something lingering there that we're not processing, that we're not feeling, that we're not acknowledging or reflecting upon, and it's going to come back to give us a little bit of a hesitation as we're moving forward. Okay, so it's important that we do that pause, we reflect, we allow the emotional energy to come in, we get the closure or the ending, we process it or whatever. And that means that we're now fully liberated and fully free to embrace the future, fully ready to go. Nothing's holding us back now. Okay? Now, in the Path of the Serpent, we're going to talk about these cards. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. And if there's anything you would like me to pray over or meditate upon or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Okay. Now, your general energy or your persona, this is card number 7. It is the Prince of Swords. Okay. Spirit's saying there's some interest in trains. Who's got the train, the toy train, or the interest in trains or something like that, right? I don't know why that's coming up. The Prince of Swords is someone who's also living in the present. Okay. This is somebody that might have one foot in the past, one foot in the future. Kind of, we're on the fence about it. We're not fully committed to the going forward. We're not fully committed to something in the past. We're kind of in this limbo. Okay? Spirit's saying that your emotions are not inconvenient. Is that something that you were taught? Maybe that's something that we've grown to believe, right? But this is something now that's kind of preventing us from moving forward. And this is the persona, this is how other people see you. Other people might see you as somebody who is not really able to fully commit to something, or somebody that's not what's the word here? It's different, right? This is how we see ourselves. Somebody that is not wasting time lingering on the past. I'm ready for the future. I'm ready to go in. I'm ready for what's next. Let's go. Come on, I'm excited. Other people see us perhaps as somebody that doesn't find closure, that isn't able to process things in that much of in the real depth, right? Someone that's unsure. Somebody that is avoiding something. Yeah. So again, the Queen of Wands, how we see ourselves. That I'm excited for the future. That I don't waste time on the past. But then other people may see us as someone that's got a lot of unfinished business or a lot of unresolved things. Okay. And I don't mean that literally. This is like people look at you and they just think, oh, they've got some unresolved issues. No, but I feel like this is kind of the energy. This is more what, we always see ourselves differently than what other people might notice about us. I feel like what's really going on is that there is some unfinished business with you that is kind of preventing us from fully committing to something else, something in our life, something for the future, something new, something that's, I think, going to be really, really good for us, right? So in a way, the Prince of Swords is saying that we have to go through this reflection, this processing. We have to be willing to be led through the real significance of whatever this past thing was, if we're going to fully commit to what is available to us in the future. Okay. Now the next card is position 8, It's kind of a shadow position. And it's the Three of Pentacles. It's a card of work. Okay? It's a card of functioning. To me, it feels like that is, it's kind of an incomplete functioning, right? It kind of feels to me like there's a lot of potential here, but there's a missing piece. Yeah. And what I'm getting out of this is that there's, again, that lack of emotional connection with the work that we're doing, or with the activities, with whatever the function, whatever the work, so-called work is. And I don't, when I say work, I don't mean like what you're doing for money or what your job is. I mean, whatever you're like burning calories doing every day, whatever your purpose in life is, you know, whatever we're talking about here is the work, right? Whether it's something at home, at work, at school, something you do for money, it's something that is like a passion for you, or if it's relationships, or if it's, you know, you watch a lot of movies, I don't know. This is kind of like us going through the motions, but without the emotional connection. Okay, that if this is your job, or if it is a relationship, it feels as if we're looking at it and thinking, well, everything's functioning fine. So there's nothing wrong because everything's working, right? But it seems like it's missing that richness. It's missing some kind of a depth here. It's something that might just be hovering above the surface of something, rather than really, really meaning something to you. Okay? So it goes with our Four of Pentacles after all, right? That we think as long as something is not obviously malfunctioning, there must not be anything wrong, right? These two positions of the Dove and Serpent spread are very, very intimately connected. This is kind of inside of us, and this is what's happening in the environment. I think that there are situations in your environment that may seem almost intimidating, almost as if the emotional, the depth or the connections, because the way I look at this, it kind of seems to me like it's something hovering above the waters, right? And so it might be that we are sort of skimming the surface of life rather than really getting deeply emotionally involved in things. Now, we may feel the excitement of the movie or of the concert or something, but by not letting ourselves feel whatever it is that we're feeling, we're missing part of the experience. That's us remaining on the surface of life. Okay? But we think, well, it's working, and it's worked for me, and this is how I've been doing life, and nothing seems to be really malfunctioning, so it must be fine. Okay? And sure, yeah, it is. I think that the idea, the potential of all of this emotional energy kind of forces us to go inside of our box. Kind of forces us inside of ourself where it's safe, where I don't, when things start getting a little bit too real or a little bit too emotional, we pull back. Okay. The next position is the specter. It's the fear, the worry, the concern, the anxiety. It is super emotional. It's happiness. This is an overwhelming emotion. It's Jupiter in Pisces. This is the most emotional card there is. It's an emotional overflow on the physical, financial, mental, emotional, or spiritual creative planes. 333. Okay. Super abundant, super emotional here. And that's our anxiety. Jupiter, right? This idea of more. Jupiter, this idea of something swelling, something getting bigger, more and more and more of something. More is better, right? And of course, Pisces is that deep emotional waters. The really sensitive emotional waters. And so this is a card of kind of overwhelming emotions. It is typically the card of happiness, right? And it might be saying that, look, happiness is not just like feeling great, feeling good, going from one thing to the next. I'm a rolling stone, and that's happy life, right? It might be a life that might have been working for you in the past, but it's going to prevent you from really getting this leveling up, going through this divine doorway to your future. Getting the best life that you can possibly get, because we're cutting ourselves off from a very important part, and that's this water energy. This is the only water card you have, and it's what we're afraid of. We're afraid of these overwhelming emotions. Okay. And it's the happiness that includes sadness and sorrow. It includes beginnings and endings. It's pleasure and pain. Okay. It's abundance, but it's also disappointment. It's pleasure, but it's also heartbreak and sadness, and it's missing people. It's missing people and missing someone. It's longing, right? It's a yearning, and it's the depth, right? Then water is flowing. This is not a stagnating water. This is a water that's flowing, and so we know that those emotions, they may wash over us. And I think the Queen of Wands is sort of afraid that once I start feeling my emotions, I'm going to be paralyzed by them. That they're going to consume me. They're going to put out the fire. That if I recognize how much I missed somebody or miss some aspect of my past, that I'm going to be consumed by that. I'm not going to be able to go forward. But I think that this is allowing you to move forward. Okay. By processing these emotions and by understanding what they mean and what that situation meant to you and still will always mean to you, is sort of freeing you from its hold. Okay. And the next card, of course, is the destiny. You're destined to go through this doorway. This is a fiery doorway. It's not an easy transition to go from the past to the future. Okay. I feel like on the other side of that doorway is a much more fulfilling life. A life that is rich with experience and has a depth of emotional connections. I feel like it really is like the Empress life on the other side of that. Well, that's what the High Priestess is always trying to bring you to. The High Priestess, right, is card number 2. What is card number 3? What is right behind the High Priestess? The Empress, maybe the mystery card. The High Priestess is always trying to lead you to your best life, a full and rich life that has pleasure and pain, happiness and sadness, pleasure and disappointment, right? It has the whole depth of the emotional experience of life. And that's the decision that we have to make, is if we want to move forward into a more full and more complete life. Right now, Spirit's saying we have to reflect on this ending and how we feel about it, what it means to us, what it sort of, what it's saying about us and about our future and about what we want. We have to be willing to look at all that stuff. Okay, that emotional reflection to go through that doorway. Let's look at the mystery card. This is position 11. It's the guide. It represents the character qualities that we might have to develop in order to walk the path ahead. It is the voice of the silence within you. It's the message from your higher self. If you have a prediction, put it in the comments. Let's see what we have. The Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is a willingness to see the truth. It's a clarity. Yeah. And it might be a calm, might be right now a peacefulness. It's saying we have to connect with our truest self and allow whatever is here to be here, allow ourselves to feel whatever is here. And maybe it's saying that the Princess of Swords needs to calm down the active mind, right? Calm down our mental energy so that we can feel the feelings. Calm down, well, especially with the air and the fire. It's a very active energy. And maybe this is saying, let's calm everything down. Maybe we're being given the gift right now of clarity to really understand what it is that we feel, and maybe that feeling is telling us or giving us some sort of a clue as to what we want our future to be like. You know, if we get in touch with those emotions, maybe that brings us clarity about who we are, why we're here, what we want, what we don't want. To know how we truly feel about something, to truly admit how we feel about something, that might give us an idea of what's coming next for us, what we want our life to be. Yeah. I think this is a very good confirmation card. And it's also a card that's saying we're transcending the normal function of our mind right, of our mentality. We're transcending the normal functioning of our mind, and we're tapping into the starlight. The tip of the sword is in outer space receiving the starlight. And that's the intuition. That is the message from Spirit right now, and we're sort of tapping into that. We're calming our energy down. It's like we're finally gonna slow down, stop talking, and listen to Spirit. And give ourselves space to feel. Okay. Anyway, please let the lessons of these 11 stations settle in your heart. Each card is a mirror. Each station is a temple of transformation. And remember that the tarot does not dictate your future. It reveals the patterns of possibilities. It invites you to co-create your destiny. If this reading has illuminated your path in any way, please share your reflections down below. Together we journey onward, ever upward and ever inward. And we're going to do an extended reading as well. If you want to stick around, we'll do an I Ching hexagram. We'll do some oracle cards. There is a link in the corner, and there is a link down below. New readings for Libra on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Be sure to watch both readings. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we are all in this together.